Press start.
Anyway, we'll try to make it through. Dan hopefully will be joining us soon. Derek can't make it tonight, which is too bad because I know that the game we're going to talk about is, I mean, we talk about each other's alleys all the time for some reason. This is right up his alley. This is all up in Derek's alley. So
all up in that alley.
We will do our best to communicate his love for this game, of course, and we'll just give our first impressions of Elden Ring along with a few other games and all that good stuff. But unlike last week we saved Horizon till the very end. I kind of just want to jump right into our Elden Ring thoughts right out of the gate, and then we'll get to the other stuff we're playing. So let's just go right off the bat. This is one of the biggest games, most anticipated games of the year, at least for multi-platform gamers. I mean, you could make the argument that Horizon was more anticipated. That's fair. But across many platforms and a wide variety of gamers, I think this one was highly anticipated. Of course, the reviews it's getting are insane. I think it was 98 for a while. Now it's 97. I mean, now it's bad. It went from good to bad.
Yeah, that's what that means.
Yeah. Well, I think very few games have been like in that like above 96 percentile, right?
Yeah, it's in like the Grand Theft Auto 5, Breath of the
Ocarina
Wild.
Time.
Yeah, it's in that echelon in terms of Metacritic, if that's important to you. It's fair.
Still plenty of time for that to turn around. So.
Yeah. It's funny because you look on Steam and the reviews are actually listed as mixed right now because, of course, the PC, which Jeff and I will talk about a little bit, PC version does have inconsistent levels of quality in terms of just the way it performs, regardless of the rig that you're running. It's just it has some inconsistencies, not bad, just inconsistent at times, and we'll get to that too. But some people really are mad about it.
I think they're mad. I think they're mostly mad about it. Well, because it's the internet, of course, and they love to be mad about everything. But almost every PC port from software has been disappointing for PC users at launch. So they're just like, God, again with this, like. So that's where some of the frustration is coming from.
Makes sense.
But
now the other ones,
but
do you
of
know
course
how
they are
fixed
overreacting.
them?
There's a patch of them that's overreacting.
They fixed them over time, the FromSoft games on PC?
I believe so, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so I'm playing this on PC. Jeff, are you playing on PC as well?
No, on PS5, but I've seen
PS5,
frame drops or drops in frames and stuff.
Okay.
But it's not like it's just something I see, like, and I don't tend to not notice that stuff. But when you're in performance, what's the equivalent of performance mode where you're in what is it called? Something about frame rate. I tell it to favor frame rate, basically.
Yeah.
And when you're in that mode and you still see frame drops, it's like, it's disappointing.
It is disappointing.
But it's not like it doesn't make the game ugly or something. It's not. Right. I'm not a quality snob by any means.
Kyle, you're on PS5 as well.
Yeah, I'm PS5. I'm playing in whatever the not frame rate mode is. Quality mode.
Quality, yeah. That would be like true 4K basically, I think.
And like I am not a frame rate guy, so like I'm not even gonna comment on like if I don't even know if I realize I'm seeing frames drop sometimes. I'm just not that observant, I guess. I don't know, but I will tell you, playing it with HDR and everything like that, hella pop in constantly. Just like, oh, the grass just, this whole area has grass. I've been in this area for like 20 minutes and the grass just popped in. Like, real bad pop in. But that's with all the bells and whistles kind of rolling and everything.
Yeah, and if you
have to turn HDR on, it's not automatically on.
If you use your telescope and zoom in and out, you can really notice the pop in there. As you're traversing the world, you might not notice it as much, but actually, in Horizon, I've seen it a few times too.
Horizon's got it too. Yeah, I mean, this is not
it's an open.
Horizon has
an open world of observation.
Too.
Yeah,
like not even just the environment. Sometimes the colors will pop in, and you'll be like, "Oh, I didn't realize it was supposed to be this bright."
There was one structure in Horizon that I saw from far off, but it loaded up elements of it, like pieces of it first, and I was like, "Why are these things floating?" And I got closer, the building popped in. I was like, "Uh-oh." Saw that.
Some Minecraft
open worlds, guys.
Saw that.
What can you
do? So those kind of things happen. I mean, we play so many video games. At least I think we are. It's fair to speak for everybody here. We're gonna let some of that stuff slide in certain types of games, right?
Depends on the ambition of it,
Stuff like that.
And so that stuff doesn't bother me. It doesn't like all of a sudden I'm like, wait, this wasn't the real world. I'm playing a game. Like it doesn't break the immersion. Like it's, you know what I mean? It's not like that for me. That being said, on the PC version, I've had a number of play sessions where everything went pretty smoothly, and other than a little bit of stuttering here and there, and it doesn't look like frame drops to me. Honestly, it looks like loading issues.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I've seen in the Fighting Cowboys videos, or like just like, oh, he's like, oh, sorry about the lag, or it's just
Yeah,
lag when it's
it has a
just doing
lag
things
or
in
load
general.
look to
Yeah,
it, as
yeah.
opposed to frame. And maybe that's the same thing. Maybe that's potato potato. I don't know. I'm not a super tech guy, but I do know that it pauses as almost as if like I entered a new area and it just needs to load it or something. There's something weird that
Hmm.
kind of happens and then it will
I know what you're
continue.
talking
So
about. Yeah.
it doesn't happen a lot, but I've had a few play sessions where it happened a number of times. Thankfully, it has not happened yet where it's gotten me killed or during a fight or something. It's usually been while I'm traveling around.
Sure.
Not a huge deal. But
On your
overall,
horsey, your jumping horsey.
on the jumping horse, yeah, it actually did happen on the horse. Overall, I do think it's performing fine, and I'm very excited to know that they're going to continue to patch it and improve it.
Mhm.
And I'm also really excited to play this thing on the Steam Deck, which the first
Yeah.
emails for that have gone out, which is exciting. People are going to start, like non-reviewers, like normal people are going to start getting their Steam Decks next week in the mail, which is really cool.
Oh
Uh,
wow, cool.
so anyway, this is one of those games that's already been confirmed as Steam Deck ready. So that'll be cool. The game like this on the go is going to look great. And I think it's also, with the smaller screen, it's probably going to, I would hope, perform super well because the resolution is way lower, but I could be wrong. Anyway, I digress. I want to hear what you guys think about this game. Kyle, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on Elden Ring so far? What are the pros, the cons, everything in between?
Yeah, I mean, I've put in quite a bit of time to it at this point. I'm about 11 hours in. I've killed a couple world bosses. I've killed a couple main path bosses, I guess you could call them. Which automatically makes this further than not the majority, but like there's 2 or 3 Dark Souls games. I think it was literally 2 and maybe 3 that I only got like maybe 10 hours in and like never proceeded beyond like the first area. And I was just like, I get it, you know, I get it.
No,
However,
what's a world boss?
World boss is like in the
It's
open
like part of
world.
the
There's
main
just a
story,
boss
right?
there. Yeah.
Wait, so you're saying the world boss is ones you just stumble upon while exploring?
Yeah, you could just be
Okay.
walking around and there could just
That's what I
be a
thought you meant.
giant
Okay.
boss there.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see what you're
And then
saying.
a
Okay.
main path boss, meaning like, you know, like a boss you have to fight to like progress the quote unquote story or whatever.
And then for these games, typically the big health bar pops up. That's usually what you look for knowing this is a real boss, not just a big enemy,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Usually the music swells up and you know there's
Mhm.
like boss music and yeah, you get that
Yeah.
big old boss bar.
Because I thought those giants were bosses. That they're not even world. They're
No,
just
they're
big
just
No,
enemies,
they're just
they're
big
just
dudes.
trolls or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
and they
mini
are not
bosses.
nice.
I don't know. Yeah,
No.
they're not. Yeah. I'm really enjoying it. You know, I feel a little deceived by the marketing and stuff like that. I feel like they came out and they're like, man, hire George R. R. Martin. There's gonna be a story. You know, IGN ran some articles and they're like, the story's gonna be really followable. You know, and then other things are just like, oh, we're trying to, you know, it's Dark Souls, it's a little bit different. It's absolutely just Dark Souls in every way, except you can jump now, I guess.
Which is great. I like the jump. I like
But
the
like
jump.
in every literal single other way, this game is Dark Souls. They maybe changed the names to bonfires to like you know whatever you know like but like your souls are runes now. You know it's the freaking same thing, guys.
Yeah.
It's in
It's
an open
always
world
asking
now,
me
which
to
is
like touch the grace, which feels bad. I don't know why. I'm like,
well, me,
Little,
I was
grace. I'm
little
like, I don't
grace,
want to touch.
guys.
we
I don't
have
wanna
to
touch the grace.
talk. I'm gonna get a little gross here, but I was playing with my friend today, and you have to like use fingers to like
Yeah,
get
a
into
lot
each
of
other's
finger
world.
stuff
So we were
going on. Yeah.
fingering each other all day today playing
Yeah.
co-op.
Yeah.
So-
I remember at one point they were like, some character said something to me about not having a finger maiden or something, and I was like,
Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. A
That-
lot of NPCs telling me I'm maidenless. I'm like, how did you know? You know, you know, just no. I mean, there's some. You know, saying that it's just Dark Souls is not like a diss or anything like that. I just feel like the marketing was setting this up to be something
I agree.
different, and it's not, and that's okay. That's not. It's an observation. It's not even like a criticism or anything like that.
I think that's fair because From has made non-Dark Soul games, and they are very different. Bloodborne, Sekiro. I mean, they still carry similarities in their difficulty and that kind of stuff. There's lots of similarities, but this feels a lot like the Dark Souls games that I've
This is
played.
Dark Souls 4, and it's an open world game. That's what this is.
Yeah, that's
To
what
me,
it feels like.
and you know, to me, again, an observation, not a criticism.
I was all in on like, let me get into this lore, let me understand what's happening, and even the opening, it's like kind of like an opening slideshow where they're just doing some Ken Burns
It's
effects with the
nonsense.
pictures, and the guy's talking, and I checked out so fast. I was
It's
like, this doesn't
garbly
make
good,
Yeah.
dude. Like it's just absolutely just nonsense, like fantasy jargon or whatever.
Yeah.
And I know we were making notes of well, George R. R. Martin's like that, and it's like, well, a lot of fantasies like this, but at least like there's like a story that you're following, you know, or some kind of political intrigue or something, you know.
Or maybe each class could have been a character with its own story. Like if you
Yeah,
pick,
yeah.
Yeah,
well, and
but
I
they did.
know like Souls fans are listening right now and being like, this is the wrong game to have this conversation with. Like, you're trying to talk narrative on a Dark Souls game.
No, that's because of the
guys.
marketing. No, that's because
exactly, and that was my closing. It's just for real, the marketing. You know, if you were following
Yes.
it, and I maybe I follow marketing too closely, so I start like reading too much into it and stuff like that. But to me, on the level they were showing it to us, I was like, oh, we're gonna have some kind of a narrative, fantasy open world RPG or whatever. And no, it's just Dark Souls open world. So.
Yep.
That being said, I'm having a really fun time like exploring stuff. I think the open world really services. I think this game really services being an open world and everything. There's many times where I'm seeing something on the map or I'm seeing something this visually and going like, yeah, I want to go there, and then just on the way there, being completely distracted by other things and everything like that. You know, so it's got all those tenets and everything. I like how you're just not overpopulated with a bunch of icons on your map. You're kind of putting your map together. I spent a lot of time in my friend's game today, and we were seeing a lot of stuff in his world. Doesn't unlock things in my world, but I can put markers all over my map to signify, hey, I need to go do all this stuff when I get back. Like,
you can mark your map. I haven't even done that. You can mark your map.
Yeah. So like if you jump into my world, Tim, you know, and like I hit a bunch of bonfires and hit a bunch of things that you haven't hit yet that you'll have to hit in your game. You can be marking all that stuff like while you're in my game.
So I'm visiting your game. I can mark up my map while I'm there. I go back to my game. Those markers
your map is the same. Yeah,
that's
you're
nice.
carrying your map. Yeah,
cool.
So there's.
But the bosses we beat together are not defeated.
Yeah, I mean, you might get the like you can't pick up items that are fixated in the environment. So if I open a chest in my game, you can't open that chest. You can't even share in me opening that chest. But you can mark down, hey, there's a chest here. So when you go back to your game, you can go and do that. So like there is a lot of like what game did we just play recently?
Dying Light.
That was co-op. It's Dying Light, where it's like, yeah, you play in somebody else's world, and when you go back to your world, it's like you never left your world. Maybe you got some more experiences like that, but like you're not making progress in your world or anything. Which is kind of what Dark Souls has always been. You're always going into people's worlds and helping them guide them through their world. So that's not unlike how it's been. But again, it's dumb how to get people into your world. And I know Dark Souls fans are gonna be like, oh, with the lore, there's only like a lore reason why you gotta use bells or whatever. I really don't give a shit. Like,
you gotta use those bells so you can.
I just need an invite button. I just need to play with my friend right now. And I don't know if they make it hard on purpose to like dissuade you from doing it.
That's what she said.
That's what it feels like to me, at least, you know, where it's like, we're going to make it personally hard. So like, you know, people will just give up easily and not do this. Like it just feels so dumb to like do it this way. And again, I know I'm making Dark Souls like fanatics like super mad about that because I know every mechanic is the way that it's supposed to be because From Software is like perfect.
That's just them excusing any possible criticism you could possibly have.
Okay, but here's the thing,
which is not fair to me.
It's not just Dark Souls games.
Get good, Jeff.
Like Kyle, remember when we tried to team up on Monster Hunter? Even that was a little convoluted. Like, how do we launch this from?
Maybe not to get racial. Maybe it's the Japanese. I don't know.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Maybe it's the Japanese. Maybe Japanese developers.
I think these long-standing franchises, and you're right.
Racist Kyle coming out.
This is essentially a Lost Souls game. Let's be honest, or a Dark Souls game. Let's be honest. And so,
it absolutely is.
Every franchise kind of has its mechanics that it uses. Monster Hunter will continue to use their way of doing multiplayer, where you have to look at certain boards and talk to certain characters, and this will do the same thing with the bells. That's just what they're gonna do. That's just how they do it. And so not all of them will have the very easy, like, oh, if you're in the same party, just hit join game, you'll load up in their world. That'd be great.
And I will say, now that I've done it 100 times, I do it right every single time now, you know, but like that first time figuring out how to do it, and I know, again, this is like probably making me seem stupid. It took me like over an hour to like, wait, so I have to what now? I have to get flowers and I have to create.
To be fair, they keep giving you multiplayer centric items, all these fingers they keep giving you, and it explains how that works.
That's what she said also.
Yeah.
They give you all kinds of fingers, and then they explain it. I'll be honest, I skip those info windows. I'm like, I'm not gonna do multiplayer for a while, and I skip it.
But they're so in depth, like that particular like instruction, that when you're ready to do that hours later, you're like, what was that tutorial again? Like that was so long ago, and I've slept since then, and I don't. It's just it's needlessly hard, and I don't care how much part of the lore it's supposed to be. It's dumb. Fix it.
Not to mention, Xbox players can't even do multiplayer.
I didn't know that.
And I heard in some reviews that I think it was ACG I think he might have been playing on PC where he was like, I don't know, I couldn't connect to other people's games and stuff like that. Oh. But sure, 10 out of 10 guys. Yeah. Makes sense.
Sick burn.
I'm so sick of the 10 out of 10 reviews, bro. I'm pretty heated about it.
Thank you. you Midwesterners like to just jump the gun, huh? You're like, forget about them East Coasters.
Well, Kyle's
whatever.
gonna have to leave soon, so we wanted to get him on the
Aw.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Kyle and I spent like in total. Well, it was over the span of like what 2 weeks, Kyle, but like
Sure,
three
yeah.
3.5 hours together talking about Dragon Ball Z. So it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Wow,
specifically
Right.
said, "I'll
Wow.
talk till Dan gets there, then I'm out." So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've had my fill of Dan this week, guys.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame. I've had my fill of Dan this week.
I've
So
had my fill
So
of me
I
this
got
week,
to
be
an
honest.
I got to an NPC in Elden Ring up by this bridge up near the castle, and she reminds me of the creepy old lady from The Tragedy of Macbeth, that movie, that new one with Denzel. And there's this creepy old witch lady who can kind of
Yeah.
like her limbs are kind of beside her and behind, like she's
like
very
blind or
Very
whatever.
contorted and stuff.
very
yeah.
contorted. There's a character like that who's got this giant head with like her just empty sockets for eyeballs, and she talks to you about fingers a lot. There's a lot of
Sounds
finger
like a Dark Souls
conversation.
character. Yeah, absolutely.
So I got to her, and I was like, she said a bunch of stuff that I was like, guys, if you're trying to make me care about story, none of this makes any sense. Like after she's done talking, a little menu thing will come up and say, if you want to do this, push X. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's what she was saying. Oh, okay, got it. Like
Yeah.
it's that type of thing. You know what I mean?
It's
And
contextual. Is contextual storytelling, Tim? Is that the term?
I
that
guess.
we're looking for?
Listen, I've got no problem if they said, hey, this is open world Dark Souls, called it Elden
I
Souls
wish
or
I
whatever.
would have just said that.
Because
be honest.
then I know what I'm getting into, and I'm like, I'm gonna give this one a shot because I like the idea of open world Dark Souls. But you are right, and people can talk about, well, stop listening to marketing all they want. All the previews, all of their own marketing, and the way they talked about it, and all the time building up to it was about story, and
They hired George R.R. Martin.
George R.R.
Hey,
Martin.
dude,
George
yeah,
Real
that's,
World
come
Martin.
on, yeah. To write notes about
So-
lore beats that don't make sense or connect in
Did
any
he
real
make
way,
up the words for them? Is that what he
Oh,
did?
if you read the item descriptions, you guys, like, you'll get the full.
No.
Shut up, guys. Like, that's why. That's
That's
why
the
there's
problem.
like 2 YouTube channels out there that break down the whole lore because they're the only 2 people on Earth that actually understand it. Like,
But that's the
I'm
case for all the
so-
Souls
so
games
over
and
it. Yes, it is.
Bloodborne, right?
I
I mean,
that's what I'm making fun of is that like
is.
Souls
Although I
people
thought-
will come out of the woodworks to defend like this is just the way they tell stories, guys.
I
And
do
it's just
think
like that's great.
Bloodborne and Sekiro had a bit of a story to them more than
definitely
Souls
Sekiro,
games.
yeah.
I would
I
say
thought
more
Bloodborne
Sekiro
did
than
too.
Bloodborne. Yeah, Bloodborne. I feel like I picked up bits of what's going on, but like I didn't know what I was in that city for, or what was going on. Like why is there Cthulhu
So,
monsters? Like
Are we
I
just
don't know.
like, is this like just out the gate? We're doing Elden Ring? Is that what we're doing? Or?
Yeah, we're just
Yeah,
chatting.
yeah.
And
All
I
right.
guess
So-
just to wrap up my thoughts, like I sound really negative on it. I'm 11 hours in. I'm loving it.
You
So
sound like
I-
Jaffe right now, right? I'm gonna need
Well,
you to.
I want to set expectations that like I don't give a shit if you want to call this 10 out of 10, whatever. That's fine, whatever. It's not gonna be a game of the year for me at the end of the year, but I'm enjoying it way more than I thought I would be, despite feeling a
Yeah.
little deceived by the marketing. So that's kind of where I'm sitting on it. I'm enjoying the ride a lot.
I was skeptical about the narrative stuff going in, and I've been proven right in my skepticism. And I'm
were?
okay with that. I'm just annoyed that everyone pretended like it was going to be some epic story, and it's not. That being said, there might be a story you have to dig for. Thanks for making me do extra work, and there might be some good stuff there. That's classic Souls. Put that stuff aside for a second. Almost everything else about the game is incredibly well made and pretty admirable. Like the world they've built, it's really creative and wide open, lots of stuff to do. The enemy, the art design, we can talk about the graphics in a second, but the art design, amazing. Like
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so
But
they've
isn't that always
created
been
a-
the case?
It's always
I
been
mean,
the case,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's still there
Really
again.
cool enemy
They
designs.
continue to carry that torch of great.
Yeah,
And
enemy
now it's
design
but
and
now
boss
it's an
design.
open world as opposed
Sure.
to like open area and smaller corridors like the older games used to be. Had some open areas, had some castles to get through and stuff.
Mhm.
Now it's wide open. You can go any direction, and you're gonna find something interesting. We all talked about this already, but when you head south of that first kind of gate ruins village where you can do a little bit of grinding to build up your skills a little bit, you go south of that, and all of a sudden you'll see these 2 giants pulling this huge carriage, and it's like, well, I guess they're kind of they're chained onto this thing, so I'm gonna kill them, and you can kill them, and then you can steal the chest from from that carriage. Little moments like that, I was like, they did a good job creating what feels like an alive world that I can
Sure.
explore in any direction and find something cool. Lots of caves, lots of pits, and lots of stuff to discover. Lots of optional stuff to go and poke around. Maybe go a little too far, and all of a sudden you're like, whoops, they're way stronger than me.
I've walked past the same like rock 3 times, and only on the 3rd time did I realize I was like, "Oh, there's a tunnel here." Like,
It's
Oh,
hard
wow.
to
so like
find
there
them,
are
right?
things there are
Yeah.
things tucked away or behind
yeah.
brush or whatever that like if you're not actually literally turning over every stone in this game, like you'll miss
That-
like huge secrets and
That's
stuff.
what
so.
that review that Derek shared. Like I watched most of it, because I pretty much got the gist of what they were saying for like 20 minutes in. I think it was like 28-minute review or
I think it
31
was like
minutes.
36. Yeah, I think it
Oh,
was
okay.
really long. Yeah, I think
And
it was
like
really
the
long,
part where they're talking about the way that like sort of all the cliffs are so jaggedy and like all of the different like heights and everything, and it's like they're almost making it impossible to find caves, but it's like it's to encourage you to be like going through every nook and cranny and riding that touring around and explore. It's pushing you to explore in a natural way instead of the checkboxy way. Which I mean there's nothing wrong with that either, because I mean Horizon approaches it that way, right? Or it's like it's sort of leaning that way, but it is a little natural because you also do have the choice to just kind of meander.
They give you a choice at the beginning. Do you want to have a much more guided experience?
Right.
Or more of
Yeah, even that way.
Experience?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I like doing it this way, where it is more natural. But I do kind of think that so like I don't know if you saw that tweet that Jason Schreier did about like having a journal like next to him, like an actual physical journal and like taking notes. I think that's a little much. Like I think a game should have some kind of log, and then it's just really the onus is on you as the gamer to decide if you want to just really just constantly be staring at that or not. Like
you mean like as far as mapping and stuff, or for what?
Or like when you stumble across like a character and like a quest, essentially, like some kind of quest log or something,
just
to
I
kind
used
of
to take
keep it
notes
organized.
playing games.
You know what I
I
mean?
don't do that anymore because I can't be bothered with something like that. But like, if someone does that, I'm like, yeah, I've that's a realm I'm familiar with at least. You know,
sure.
That's just a personal. I mean, like again,
I'm not going to do it now, but yeah,
yeah, no,
it's something I have dabbled in.
I'm definitely not going to do that. I'm just going to explore, and if I happen to remember a quest, and I'm like, and then I stumble across, it's just going to happen naturally. But I don't know.
I came across a guy who was like in the form of a talking bush, and like I couldn't interact with him because I was in co-op with somebody, and I was like, I'll have to go back and talk to him, and I don't remember what it was. I'm gonna write a note down, But at some point, a bush is gonna talk to me again, and I'll be like, oh yeah, there it is. All right.
At some point,
a talking bush.
Yeah, I mean that's just like a little gripe, and I mean, yeah, this is a Souls game. It is. It's a Souls game, except you can jump and you can crouch. But this is literally just a Souls game. Like,
hey, I do like the stealth element to it because I love a game with some good stealth. That's Jeff. We were talking about this earlier. That's kind of how I'm playing Horizon a lot. Is lots of stealth and then maybe aim for a certain component to try to knock off first to kind of get the battle started. Maybe lay some traps and then go as ranged as possible. Like I'm having a lot of fun with that approach. Yeah. So I tried that here too, and the stealth works pretty well. You can get in some really good backstabs if you sneak up. And I discovered if you're not moving, if you kind of come to a stop and then you hit the small attack, then you'll do like a instant kill, like assassination.
Real backstab, yeah.
I didn't realize
you
that
get more not Souls runes for doing that too. So if you kill people that way, like you'll get more runes.
Not Souls runes. Yeah. These aren't Souls guys. This is totally different.
It's not Blood guys. It's not Bloodborne. Come on.
Different currency,
story.
Guys. Different currency.
Completely different thing.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't realize
the story will explain all this.
I had been walking up behind him and just started swinging every time, and so I could take him out in a couple of hits. I didn't realize there was an actual like assassinate animation and it kills him like that.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, discovering things like that's been fun. I've been using Vagabond for the most part. I did jump over to try Bandit a little bit. I was thinking, you know what? All the Horizon I'm playing, I want to do more stealth. I want to be faster, and I want to use a bow. And so I started it. I like the fast attack. You can't block for anything, so you have this dumb little shield that really doesn't do anything. But the fast attack with the dagger is cool. And then I went to start shooting my bow, and I was like, oh, bows and arrows in this game are awful. Okay. All right. I don't want to do this anymore. Now they've got some cool moves you can unlock. And I've watched some videos on that before I gave up on it completely. And in general, yeah. And even our buddy Sasan, who loves all the Souls games, he was like, oh no, the bows in all the Souls games are bad. They've always been bad. I was like, oh.
You can kind of cheese some moments with them. Like,
yeah,
and
I don't mind. I mean, there's nothing to it.
Especially in this one.
You just lock on and shoot. There's there's nothing to it. But
no,
right. And you can go into
I like it because in a pinch, I can just pull it out and do some damage real quick. But at no point am I going ooh, this feels good.
So with Horizon, with Horizon, it feels great. Or even with
Horizon, every time I release a bow in Horizon, I'm like, ugh.
And I think that's the problem. I think that's the problem is that other games have done it so well that this, I'm like, ugh. For all the intricate combat that they have, this feels like such a tacked on piece. So I'm not here to say it's the worst or that it deserves
It's
to be
unchanged
defended.
from Dark Souls for sure.
It's just
Like,
kind of like,
it's-
oh, this isn't interesting to me. I understand why they have it, but it's not. Like, honestly, throwing knives is more fun than using the bow and arrow. But
Mm.
anyway, I got to the point where I started grinding that village for a while, trying to level up a little bit and get a little more confidence before branching out. And I honestly, at that point, was like, oh, this is usually when I stop playing Souls games, is I'm a couple hours in and I've stuck in a spot because I want to grind to get
Sure.
stronger. And then I get super bored and I'm like, this is not fun. That's because you're not advancing. You're just kind of playing it safe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I decided, hey, this is open world. I'm just going to pick a direction, jump on my spirit horse, and just start going. And I did that this afternoon a bit. Way more fun. Finding all kinds of stuff, stumbling upon all kinds of cool looking, weird looking enemies and areas, some places that I'm like, oh, I need to come back to this because this looks like it's going to have some good stuff in it. I'm just way too weak, things like that. Finding the carriage, the giant drawn carriage that's being pulled. So that's what I recommend for folks. I recommend that you explore as you grind.
Yeah, I think that's a great advice. Like, don't dig in like you would oh, this is my favorite corridor to run down. Let me grind this corridor, make sure I can get this boss or whatever. Like,
maybe do it a few times, but don't get stuck there.
The more that I feel like I just walk away from something that's giving me, like, I don't know, grief or whatever, like, the more fun I'm having with this game. And I know that's a freedom that only exists in this game when we're talking about Souls games. So
yeah,
sure. Big hats off to that.
I just shared real quick. I actually this is why I was late, because I just wasn't even aware. I found this video where basically this guy kind of pinpoints, like, I think it's around 1920 little spots where, so those little golden runes or whatever that gives you extra souls, quote unquote. So there's like kind of like he maps out some of those spots, and then just some other things like the blacksmith in the what is it, the table room, whatever it's called. Oh, I forget what that area is called. But
the
then
hub area,
the hub area, sure. And then there's a female character that you find where she seems very like timid, and she's like, oh, my bodyguards all got their arms and legs cut off and blah blah blah, and she's like very scared. But then she ends up going there, and she has actually a purpose. So there's some stuff there's pertaining to the like the spells, like the summoning spells. So I don't know if you've guys bought the wolf pack like spell.
I've gotten that one. I've gotten a jellyfish one.
So yeah, exactly. So she can actually beef those up. So she's nice. That person.
Oh, so she's back at the hub beefing.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to beef those up. Yeah.
There's a little thing that you have to do. So he actually pinpoints like you talk to the blacksmith guy, and then you go back to her, and then back to the blacksmith. So basically, he trains her.
I haven't gotten to the hub area yet. I've gotten to her though, where she just keeps whining about how scared she is. I'm like, shut up.
Yeah.
Just.
So you haven't gotten to the hub area yet.
So the hub area you get to by attempting the first main boss like a couple times or whatever, and then
I don't even know where the first main boss is. I have no idea.
If you keep on going down that road that you're going down,
in the castle.
Just keep on following like the yellow like.
The farthest I got to the castle was I got past that entrance where they were shooting the gigantic ballista thing at me.
Right beyond there's the boss. There'll be a campfire.
I went around those guys and I killed them, and then I got that save point, but then I left and I wanted to keep exploring.
So that save point is right outside the boss's lair.
I would actually I kind of wish I did this right before the boss, because then I'd be curious how much easier it would have been. It took me quite a few turns to beat that guy. Because I'm playing as samurai, because my health is a little lower, high stamina, low health. It would have been actually kind of fun to see if like this little path that this guy takes you on in this video like would have beefed me up, even because I didn't have the wolves at that time. Now I have the wolves, so I'm wondering if
I would have never been able to beat that boss without a sidekick or something.
Okay, yeah, I beat it with no sidekick,
because I suck at these games. So like I was like, I need to call in an NPC. I need to pull out my wolves. Actually, the jellyfish is actually really good for that boss fight, just as a tip or whatever. And like that's. I think that's the cool accessibility that's been added to these games, is that like, maybe there's not an easy mode, to bring up that awful, ridiculous conversation.
Yeah.
But there are accessibility points in this game that allows you to, everything feels a little more surmountable.
Out, right?
Like I feel like everything's a little more surmountable. Like, God, I like that first boss 15 times. I kept on dying on it. The one in the castle or whatever.
Yeah.
But the second I was like, oh, let me call in an NPC. Let me pull out my wolf boys or my jellyfish. Like, things are really, because like they get distracted. The boss will totally turn to them and start attacking them, and you can backstab them and do all this stuff and you can rack up a lot of. Really
it was
good
a real
damage.
pain. I definitely would have liked having those wolves by my side, but I did manage somehow. I actually switched to two-handed. I usually do I have the little round shield and I had the katana. Yeah, and I think upwards of 15 times. And then I was just like, you know what? Screw the shield. I'm just gonna go in two-handed because I think that I'm pretty sure that does more damage.
It does more damage, but you attack slower.
Right. But I did manage at that point to, after like maybe 2-3 times trying two-handed, I did get him. So, but it probably again it would have been easier with having some sidekicks.
It's so much easier. Yeah.
You know, there was something cool about I got that first two-handed weapon. I'm sure everyone got that same great sword. It's in one of those early chests, I think.
Yeah.
So I started using that two-handed on that little village, and then I upgraded my strength to 16, doing Vagabond. I wanted that to be mostly strength and then lots of HP. And then now I can just use it with one hand, and I have a full-on like legit shield on the other hand. And as long as I'm paying attention, as long as I don't get kind of like lazy, I can take out most of the enemies that are in that area in that level.
Sure.
And once you stop paying attention, even the weakest enemies will kill you.
Because it's slow, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. If you're not paying attention, absolutely.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it is very satisfying to see that progression. I do like that a lot, where it's like, hey, why don't you just pick the vigor and endurance is going to be good for every class, no matter what. Give yourself more health and give yourself more stamina. It's going to help no matter what class. And then just identify your one main attack stat. So for me, it's going to be strength. For some, it's dexterity. For some, it's intelligence. And if you really, and I forget who I was reading some kind of guide that said that at the beginning, like at the very basic level, if you want to know how to think about this, level up your one main attack stat, and then vigor and endurance are always good ones to keep adding to as well. And that's it. That's where to start. Of course, as you get more familiar with the game, you could probably get much more creative and understand. I actually do 2 points over here. Whatever, that's fine.
Especially with magic.
At a very basic level, that's a good way to start, and that's how I've been approaching it. And I've actually been seeing myself get. I know people always say get good. I'm like, okay, but also just get your stats a little higher. That helps too. Like, I'm not really playing any better. I'm just, I can actually take a few hits now.
You're also now beefing up your weapons, because the blacksmith will raise the power of your weapons too. So
all I've done is the little at that little table at the beginning with the zombie Santa.
That's the same thing. You're limited to how much you can do there, but like,
right,
yeah. I
Which
think
I was really confused.
I've got my
earlier.
sword at +3, so it's doing okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Jeff, are you playing it? Because I feel like you haven't said
Yeah,
much.
I played like an hour of it.
Okay.
Vagabond, and then I decided to switch to Astrologer because I was watching. I've been watching more gameplay videos of this than actually playing them, to be honest. But
you're studying.
I literally am. I'm like, okay.
You're a student of the game.
Like, do I really want to dive in the way these people are diving in? I'm basically looking for the right person to make it look a little bit. There's never going to be an easy mode, and
tolerable.
If there was an easy mode, this game would get like 7 and 8s. Okay, because that's part of the thing. That's part of the game. That is the game. You know what I mean?
I agree with you.
So that's my take on that. First off, but there are people that will show you certain rhythms of enemies that will kind of help you move along a little better, or like. You don't come out the gate fighting with the tree sentinel unless you're a freaking idiot like I am. Because the game is telling you that's their way of designing the map to show you, noobs like me, it's okay to walk away at the beginning. Like it's fun. You don't have to see like every enemy you see. You don't have to attack them.
I've taken a wide path around him every time.
Exactly, same here. So maybe revisit him later. So I switched to Astrologer mainly because I am not ready yet, at least in this game, being my first one I'm actually diving into. For close-up combat, and I was watching Astrologer combat, and it's just like you're just far away, just flinging magic at them, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome, I could do that. Just make sure my flashes are good and all. Yeah, it looks great. So that's making my life a little bit easier.
Make sure you get those wolves, man, because those wolves will act as your tanks while you're attacking from a distance.
Yeah, there's 3 of them. There's 3 of them.
They're pretty easy to get. I think you just have to go. You just have to go talk to the first NPC lady by the gate. And then go back to that first church where the Santa zombie guy is, and then once I think once you're back,
there sitting there.
There's another lady there who you talk to.
Yep.
And so she'll give you the wolves at that point.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. But I haven't even. I just like basically copied over I saved my ugly face. By the way, they didn't need to add customization at all. You can't see your face at all ever. Character never
unless
talks,
you just don't wear a helmet or whatever. But
right, it's true. But I saved my ugly face. I purposely make my dudes look dumb whenever there's customization in any game. So I saved that as a favorite, and I just imported that over to my Astrologer.
Nice.
And that's pretty much how far I got. I'm like, okay, I got past the first person you're supposed to die. facing, and then spit back out in the open world. That's where I left off.
Okay. Yeah.
But I do know from seeing so much gameplay of an astrologer walkthrough that this is probably the one for me to start, at least to start out with, and then maybe once I feel a little bit cockier, once I can finally like kind of get into a rhythm, because that's what this game's all about, is teaching yourself how to get good, I guess. There's an element of being rewarded that way. Maybe
it's funny
I'll
you said get into a rhythm. I've
Bagmon.
seen multiple outlets say if you treat a lot of the combat elements almost like a rhythm game, you might have more success than if you think of it like a action game.
I saw that like about Sekiro, which I agree with. I don't see that for this, but that doesn't mean that you're not like right. Like
I just think it's
the more ways you can throw out there to like people think about it in a way that makes them understand, I think the better. Sekiro, I really felt that way because I was just like, well, I suck at this game just like I do rhythm games.
So can I be a little bit of a troll?
Yeah,
I think Sekiro is a way better game than this game.
I don't know if that's being trolling though. I mean, both of these games got like 9s and 10s.
But overall, it's not reviewed right now as high as Elden Ring is technically.
Isn't it though?
Yeah,
I thought
Sekiro was like
a
91 on Metacritic.
Well,
I mean,
okay,
obviously,
so,
Elden
we're talking
Ring
about
can still
5,
go down.
Yeah, but like when you're talking about like how it hit industry,
We're talking about Game of the Year award winners either way.
Yeah,
but...
yeah. Like Sekiro swept a lot of Game of the Award. Like,
right.
But I don't know. I just think you're saying this really good game is as good as this new good game.
Well, it's just like the.
I don't know how trolly that is.
But because like people just love all of these FromSoft games, and it's like Sekiro is absolutely like the like weird redheaded stepchild. Because it's definitely the most different one out of all of them. Which 100%. One, based off just that alone, is what makes me appreciate it more. And I just think the fluidity of the combat is the best. Like I think it's just the best that they've made combat wise. But then it's like, to me, it's weird that they're like, oh, let's just do the Dark Souls thing again, but like more open world and add crouching and jumping. It's like, okay, well, first of all, you should have had that in all your games. It's absurd that you can't jump or crouch in any of those games. It's like, what is this, Ocarina of Time? Like, no jump button.
I just don't.
If you go back to Dark Souls 1 through 3,
if your game doesn't have a jump button, I just go, oh, then I don't jump in this game, and I just kind of move on. So
people
say that about Final Fantasy Remake. They're like, you can't jump in this game, like, ooh, so I'm just
I'm poking fun at Gaston. I'm poking.
But if people play Elden Ring and then they want to go back to Dark Souls, like, well, I like this, they're going to be disappointed with how it controls.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Sekiro has a much more unique combat system as well. Whenever we're talking about this, because this is
It's got a grapple hook. Every good game has grapple hooks.
But I will be the troll. I think Sekiro sucks, and I hate that game. I think that game is so insanely hard, and that's how you troll.
Y'all just mad that you can't beat Sekiro.
I am. Every day I'm mad that I can't play a samurai game that was literally made for me, and I'm like, I can't enjoy this game. No, that game is like particularly very. Like it demands a lot out of you. Whereas like Dark Souls, even when Dark Souls is hard, it's like, okay, I should have maybe just like light swung instead of heavy swung there. But like for Sekiro, it's like you should have been like ducking and aiming upwards and like it's just like
grappling and doing whatever
way too much going
bananas nonsense.
Whereas like again, I think there's an approachableness to Elden Ring that's like it's really beckoning me in a way that I'm like following the dumb siren song where I'm just like, show me something different. And every time like I am fighting something, I go, this is Dark Souls. Like,
I guess I just don't get the upset. Like people talk about Dark Souls or the Souls games, and obviously it's really just a matter of what your preference is at the end of the day. But it's like, have y'all ever played like a Devil May Cry or like a Bayonetta or any of those games that are like fast but still require patience and timing too? So it's like,
and they're tough. They're very tough games.
Yeah.
At times.
Yeah.
So it's
I think they're two very tough games,
they are. They are different games. I get it, but it's
but you're right. I think they offer kind of a similar
and they just feel better, right? Like playing as Dante,
I think playing Devil May Cry
like,
5 feels better all day than playing any Dark Souls game.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, or Bayonetta or anything like that. Personally, like I know the Sassans Sassans out there and other people in our group will be like, no, Dark Souls is the pinnacle of action RPG.
Right. I don't
maybe for you, sure, yeah.
I don't
like
understand. The in between. I like the games that split the difference because Dark Souls games are so intentional and methodical. Like the combat feels slow, which is to its benefit. It's very, very slow. And then playing something like Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, after it's done, I need to just take a breath and breathe because it's so fast.
Yeah.
It's too fast, and I love it, but I'm also kind of like,
See,
oh, I'm exhausted. So I like the in between. I like games. That's why
I'm
like.
almost exhausted by the Souls games more because of how stressful it is to get through an area.
That's fair. That's fair.
I'm like,
they
Jesus
both,
Christ,
they both
I
are
survived.
stressful in their own ways, but that's why I like. That's why I like a good Horizon or Assassin's Creed. That's like, hey, this is gonna be speedy enough that you're not feeling like, boy, they're trying to go for real realism here, but it's also not so fast that it's like you can miss things if you have like one chance. And Bayonetta, if you miss something, you could get clobbered real fast in some of those.
Listen,
So,
I'm just trying to say that all you people that think that Souls is literally like the second coming of Christ are just a bunch of cucks. All right, so
I'm actually, I got to be honest.
Just turn it down.
So Dan, that's
What
trolling
does that
right
even
there. What you're doing now is trolling,
That
and
is-
I'm gonna
that is
double. I'm
correct,
gonna double down and go. Dan is right. You Souls fans, you suck. You kind of suck. As like a fan base, you kind of are gatekeeping weird sucky people. So
I kind of hope that
absolutely.
all of you get AIDS. To be honest,
well,
I
don't want
go
you
that
to
far,
die.
but,
I
at least
want
an
you
uncomfortable
maybe
butthole
like
itch or
a
something.
maybe like a very itchy like
buttholes.
chest. You know, like I just you scratch, you might bleed a little bit.
All right, fine. No AIDS, just whatever Kyle's saying.
Okay, let me ask you guys this: do you think, because we're talking about Souls games and Elden Ring included in there, of course, do you think it's actually that these games are difficult, or is it that they're just complex and very different from other games? Are they?
I think they are difficult. And I actually get bothered when people go, "These games aren't hard, guys. Just play it." It's like, actually, pat yourself on the back. It's hard, and you're good at it. Like and it's okay to like say I'm good at these games, and I think people should say that more. But this whole like narrative, they're like, they're not hard, just play it. Oh, fuck you. Like, you know, oh, sorry, excuse me.
I feel the same way.
But like, I'm just like,
it
is a hard game. And like, you should just like take the accomplishment that you're actually good at it and just go, they're really hard. I kind of understand their language, so I'm pretty good at them, you know, pat myself on the back. You know, what are you having problems with? Instead of just being like, oh, get good, you know, like, they're not hard, just play by the rules of the game. Like, no, they are hard games.
Yeah.
And like, and you're good at them, and that's okay. And you should celebrate that instead of like ripping everybody else down, you know, because they're not.
Shocker, Kyle. There's two sides of a thing, just like with every other issue in existence. There's always two sides. People arguing about
How
shit.
about that?
Yeah.
Instead of just meeting in the middle, you know. Instead of just meeting in the middle and being like, all right, well, you know.
So I wanted to circle back because you mentioned some people not being into these games and it's an entirely subjective experience, and that's me. Like, this is so not my cup of tea as it ever gets, because I look at the art style and when you say From Software to me, I just envision a game that's like gray and dark blue and dark brown, has gray clouds.
You got it.
Gothic. And that art style to my eyes is just like diarrhea. Like, I just don't like it.
And the bosses have things coming out of their chest and their faces.
Yeah, like diarrhea.
Yeah.
Right. And again, I really, really admire the art design, and some of the enemies is just insane. Like,
really good.
The fact that somebody could think up that from scratch is just amazing to me. But the game,
George.
it's just, I look at that art style and I'm immediately like, oh, and then I see Elden Ring is just like that. And I'm like, oh, well, this is not for me. But it is the best that art style has ever looked, in my opinion, for sure. And I don't know. I'll try to stick with it, but Horizon is so at like the forefront of my brain and just exactly my play style, you know, like it's just my type of open world, even if it might be a little bit too much bullcrap side stuff to do.
I think what works to Elden Ring's advantage is like, because, I mean, again, let's be honest, like the story isn't something, it's not presented to you like how Horizon presents its story.
Mm-hmm.
You could back away from Elden Ring and then focus on Horizon, go back to Elden, and you're fine.
You can't get lost. You can't really get lost in the story because you're going to be lost regardless the entire time. So
yeah. You'll have to get back into the swing of the combat with Elden Ring, but like this weekend for me, it's dedicated to just Elden Ring, and then I'm hopping right back into Horizon because I don't want too much time away from the story, you know what I mean? Because again,
I don't want the story to slip. I don't want to jump back into Horizon and be like, who are you? Like, why are you hanging out in my hub area?
For me, having been programmed to play Horizon successfully, is I go play Elden Ring, and when I'm trying to stealth, I'm drinking a flask, and I'm like, damn it.
Sure. Yeah.
accidentally heal in Elden Ring
Yeah.
so much. And is that why? Because is that the stealth button in Horizon?
It's
Yes,
X.
it's
Yeah.
crouch and
That is
horizon.
what is happening, and I'm
Or
just now putting this
square
together
for
as
you.
you're saying
Square.
this. Like, I am just now putting this together. Like,
Yeah.
I'll like, hey, I'm walking up to the ruins, heal. Ah!
God damn it.
Dang it.
And then you get hit like a bunch of times. You're like, damn it, I should.
Oh
It
man.
happens to me all the time. Also, another thing I wanted to bring up is I know that this is like not a thing that Souls fans play these games for. We mentioned the narrative being either non-existent or just nonsense. But so pretty much are the reviewers or the critics, journalists that played this, are they Souls fans? Is that what it is? Because usually narrative is weighed into a score, and I feel like they didn't even consider it. You know what I mean?
And I don't, again, like, I don't know. You know, I try not to get hung up on, like, why people give what thing what number.
I know,
I
but when you say 10-10 and like
No, and I get what you mean,
multiple
and that's why I'm not writing off like
man,
I'm not like, oh,
this
Jeff,
game.
don't get all worked up about it, because like it is something to think about, you know. It's
Yeah.
like it's I don't know, you know, like I don't know what industry types are Dark Souls fans or whatever. Maybe
Yeah.
people came in thinking like, this is a Dark Souls game who gives a shit about story. Like maybe
Okay, but
that's
when
kind
you
of what
play
it
the
is,
game, I don't get the vibe that the game is trying to tell me some incredible story and they're doing a bad job of it.
Either.
Yeah, no, it's not.
That's
It's
what I'm
not.
saying. Like, if I was scoring this, I would have a hard time scoring it poorly on story because the game's not really trying
Same.
to tell me a story.
Yes.
So, would I really mark it off for narrative? Not really, because it's not like they have all these NPCs that are poorly acted.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
They're not like
Excellent
saying-
voice acting, you know, like.
Well,
Yeah,
like,
voice
do we
acting is
ding
still tremendous.
Monster Hunter for not having a story when it comes out? Those don't have stories, you know. So it's like I guess
that's
some
true.
games
No,
kind of get like
Monster
a narrative.
Hunter always
pass,
has
you
a
know?
village leader who's like, ha ha ha,
Yeah,
let's go.
right. I'm
hunters."
fat and kind of jovial. Huh? Do you want missions? You know?
Let's
Like,
fight
Oh,
that just
yeah, I see.
absurdly large monster that we absolutely wouldn't be able to kill at all. Let's
yeah,
just
right.
fight that
Here,
thing.
take its back spine and kill it with it. Oh, yeah, all right, I'll take that. All right.
Use this to make a slide for the children.
Yeah, I don't know. So I
Okay.
think Tim's probably right. Like it's a case by case basis. I don't know if there's like whenever you're reviewing a game, you don't go, okay, next section story. What
I
is this?
think
You know,
Horizon
I don't.
is
I don't
fair
know.
to judge that in the story because it's so
Yes.
narrative heavy,
Very
so
present.
Yeah,
narrative heavy,
absolutely,
and
yeah.
thankfully they're delivering on it. For me, at least, I think they're.
I agree.
Dude,
Yeah.
crushing
There
it.
is some weird stuff going on in that game.
There
and
is.
I am so all the way here for it. I couldn't
Yeah,
be
I
more
love it.
present.
It's very sci-fi. Like they were like, "Hey, we're a
There's-
sci-fi game. Let's lean into
Yeah,
that."
yeah. No,
There's
there are
a-
moments where they're standing in environments when I going, this is a sci-fi game. Like we're so far beyond being a primitive, you know.
Yeah, it
like-
almost
Yeah.
sometimes looks like the Halo Infinite, like the dungeons, whatever those were called that you were
Yeah.
in. Remember, like
I
some
know
of the
what you're
design
talking
of the metal everywhere. It's just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
wow.
Oh,
this
in
is-
Horizon? You know what it
Yeah.
actually reminds me of? It reminds me of The Matrix, to be honest.
The Matrix. Yeah. I
Really?
get that too. I get
Yeah.
that.
Oh.
It's super cool.
Oh, you mean like the Machine City? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
The cauldrons
I,
are very Matrixy. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
There's yeah. So, okay. I just wanted to talk out the narrative part in the reviews because it's good to bring those up, and then you guys can
Of course.
change.
Well,
my
the
point of
one
view
area
with
that I
a-
do think
a
that no
different
one's-
perspective.
Jaffe was right. No one's really coming down on this game for really not being top of the line,
Yeah.
cutting edge visual showpiece. Listen, this is not an ugly game. I would not go as far as
Yeah.
others last week might have gone as far as to call Horizon ugly and blurry. I would never do that about the Elden Ring. Okay.
If
would
I
never-
were here, I would have never allowed that to transpire.
You know
we
what's funny? You know what's funny?
laughed pretty hard.
Hold
I
on.
would.
About
I'm sorry, Derek got kicked. Anyways, no, it doesn't look like that.
I will say, since he pointed it out, if you're looking in the background, sometimes it's blurry. But
Sure.
that's
but-
if you're looking specifically in the background when
No,
there's a cinematic
that's-
scene happening.
When
right
you
in front of
I watched the Digital Foundry video that he was
Yeah.
referencing, and to his
did?
credit, that the guy does talk about performance mode versus quality mode, and when you're in performance mode, it is not as sharp. He doesn't ever say blurry or ugly. He just said it's not as sharp, and if you're okay with that and don't find that to be something you notice, that mode's fine. But I like quality mode because blah 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 blah.
Gotcha.
And
So,
so,
he just Derek it. I hope he hears this.
yeah, he
yeah.
totally-
He
well,
put it through a Derek
exaggerated the
filter.
crap
He
out
put
of
it through a Derek filter, and that's
Yes.
what.
yeah,
But I do
right,
think-
right.
back to Elden Ring real quick too. I think visually.
Yes,
there are elements of it that I'm like, oh, that looks cool. Like whether it's your cloak on your back as you're running,
Yeah.
like some of the
that-
animations look really good. But then there's
Yeah,
other
for
parts
sure.
where I'm like, look at this field. This grass looks like paper mache, kind of just moving back and forth. This looks real
Yeah.
bad.
like a single
But
strand
then
of
if you
grass.
look up like 2 feet, like you're like, oh, that tree looks really good.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
the
a
tree's
burning
gorgeous.
orange tree. But then you look
Yes.
down, and you're like, maybe not so much the grass, you know?
Yeah, or
Yeah.
you see an
Um,
enemy and like, look how detailed this enemy is. Even his face, everything about him is so detailed. And then
Yeah,
that
yeah.
rock That rock looks nothing like Tales of Arise.
Dude, the
nothing.
cliffs in this game are not to, anything to gripe home about.
Yeah.
Well, and
So-
I don't want to pile onto it. Maybe not being like, oh, it doesn't deserve it a 10. Maybe it's not getting, graded as hard as it is. But like, I think you guys have a point though. It isn't really, because like Ghost of Tsushima was getting like 8s because of like frame rate issues, and like
That game was
like
gorgeous,
little
though.
and like that's a 10 out of 10 game to me. Like whenever you're
Same.
playing,
Yeah, I agree with you.
when you're playing Ghost of Tsushima, like, and I saw it getting 8s, I was like, are we high right now? Like, I don't understand
absolutely.
why.
All
And
of the
whereas
trucks,
this
Kyle.
game is
All
getting
of the
like, I
trucks.
couldn't believe how many 10s. Not that it doesn't deserve it. I don't want to go into a conversation, at least from my side, of why it does or does not deserve that coveted number.
I
but
think it
like,
deserves it. That
when
was
I-
our game
when
of the
I-
year
when I-
last year, 2 years
when
ago.
I look at like Ghost of Tsushima, that got graded very hard on things that this same game is shortcoming on, and it's getting 10s. You have to start thinking, and this is my whole point. Oh, the rating system's dumb.
Yes.
Yeah,
like,
okay, that's a
these
fair
are
point. That's a
both,
very good
these
point.
are both,
Or it's the obsession
like,
with FromSoft, right?
where it's the and
Could be some of
which
that,
is I
too.
think Jeff was leaning into, which I think there is a bit of that. We always talk about the Rockstar curve. Well, Rockstar game comes out and it just gets 10s. Personally, I think a lot of us here may agree with it. They deserve it every single time. Personally, I think Rockstar kind of above and beyond shows up and stuff like that. But I could say the same.
They make
that,
a game every 7 years, and they're always great. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
and they
that's
take 7 years to put them out too. So
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. You would
they are
expect it, right?
functioning in a way that a lot of games aren't. And I would also say that Ghost of Tsushima had that like layer of quality. Like I don't remember for it being an open world game, like a mission just not working. Like Horizon, I'm experiencing that in this game right now. Like so like I don't remember there being a lot of shortcomings with Ghost of Tsushima. It got 8s across the board.
It was on a technical level. It was pretty flawless, and
it
I don't
broke
even
down
remember frame rate
barriers of
drops.
open world like tropes and stuff like that. Like just getting rid of
Gorgeous.
all like the mess like on your HUD and
Again,
stuff like
the
that.
sort of natural progression like Elden Ring is doing.
Yes, they
you
both kind of
Yes.
really want you to naturally
or like
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild, like that kind
Maybe
of.
if Ghost
Very
had,
much so,
had
yes.
no difficulty selection and it was just really hard, maybe you'd get 10s.
Maybe we get 10 out of 10s. Yeah,
it's interesting, I think,
Yeah. This is the Dark Souls of samurai games, Jeff.
Oh, sign me up.
those who would say no, Elden Ring is like my favorite game ever. It's a masterpiece, and I can't really argue that you're
I would never
wrong. That's
stop you
very
from
No,
subjective.
and
That's
you know
fine.
why? It's because the Souls fans. This is the game that they've wanted.
Sure.
Since Souls came out.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Is
Yeah.
that
And-
gameplay is king in every genre, in my opinion. If the game is fun, that can kind of make you forget about a story being bland or bad, even, or the graphics not being quite there. I mean, a good gameplay can trump all that stuff, right?
Absolutely.
And I totally get that. I feel like you make a good point with Ghost of Tsushima, because when I played Ghost, I remember thinking, hey, this combat is intricate and tough, but it feels good, and it's like, I don't know if there's many games that do this samurai type
Switching
combat
stances.
better.
And
It's really, really good, and so
Game
Being
is
a
top
samurai,
of the line. That
and
game
so-
is a triple A masterpiece.
and
I agree.
it is top of the line. I think gameplay is king in that, in addition to it nailing it on story
Yeah.
and on
Just
visuals.
everything else.
But
mechanics
that
and-
being said, Elden Ring, I think you can make the argument that, hey, gameplay is king here. So you guys whining about the visuals, shut up. It's gameplay. Okay, fair. You guys whining
Yeah,
about
sure.
lore and the story, shut up. That's not what it's for. Okay, fair enough. I don't think the game's trying to shove lore in my face, so I can't really criticize it. It's like,
yeah.
this is what they're only I can only judge on what it's presenting to me. It's presenting to me I'm some kind of spirit in some spirit realm, and I'm going after some kind of ring. I don't know why, and that's fine. All I know is I'm trying not to die too many times as I get stronger.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's the
And
story.
like maybe we're not the big like Dark Souls fans, and we're kind of coming into other people's worlds and going like,
That's
oh,
it.
well, this isn't the way that I want it to
That's
be,
it.
but they're there partying and enjoying exactly the way it is.
That's-
This is exactly the way they want
That
it.
is literally
like-
me, because
Yep.
I avoid these games entirely. Almost exclusively avoid these games entirely. Like I played 10 minutes of Sekiro. I got my ass handed to me by like the first. He's not even a real boss. I'm sure he's
Like
a
an
guy you
elite,
see
yeah,
many
like
times in the game.
A
And
plant.
like,
He's just a plant.
as soon as I died, I was like, well, that's it for me. Uninstall. And like,
Who's
so,
the who's the boss after Lady Butterfly in that game? That's when I stopped the game.
I don't
I
even know what you're
don't- I
talking
don't
about.
even
That's how
remember.
far I didn't get in there.
I don't even remember, dude.
I got
Yeah,
to the
I
first,
remember
I got
her.
to the first boss period in that game
Yeah.
and just go.
She was
no.
she was tough. Lady Butterfly was pretty tough, and then it took me several tries, and then there's a boss after that. I can't remember who it was. I think it's a guy you fight in the field. I can't remember who it is. But I remember like after Death 10, I was like, I'm just not having a lot of fun here. I understand that I could go back and grind and get good as it is. I could train. Do I want to do that? I don't know if I want to do that. So I think I'll play something else that rewards me for all my hard work and doesn't make me feel stupid for not getting it perfectly. I think
that's me though. Like that's me outside the club going, you guys having fun in there? You guys look like you're having fun in there. Even if I do get inside and I'm like, oh, this club kind of blows or whatever. However I feel about it.
Your music sucks in this club.
Yeah, exactly. If it's something like that, and it's like, well, I probably should have just stayed outside or gone.
But look at that guy. He's dancing hard, man. He's having
God, he's really grooving, you know. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what it is, you know. Dan, I think pointed it out best is that there are a whole group of people who just got the game they've been waiting for their entire gaming career. You know what I mean? And like, absolutely. I am not coming in here to be like, you don't deserve that 10. I don't think you should get this. Sure. No, your story's dumb. Where's George R.R. Martin? I'm not gonna be that
Railroad
villain, you know?
Martin.
I think, believe it or not, I think everybody's favorite, Alana Pierce, was the only one that was honest with people on Twitter about this game. She was like, "It's just Dark Souls, guys. It's just Dark Souls."
And she's been saying that for a while, I think, too, since like the network test too. She's like, "Guys, it's just Dark Souls," and like I feel like that no one else was doing that. Yeah, even Easy Allies, they're like, "Well, you know, there's some intricacies to go." I'm like, guys. You really like this is just Dark Souls, and I feel like you guys even like misled me a little bit here, you know, like
it always looked like Souls to me, to be honest.
And it did to me too, but it's not what's being said. So what I'm seeing and what
I agree.
What was,
I agree with Kyle. I was following the marketing.
I wasn't hearing those things then.
I was listening and going, okay, they're telling me things, but what I'm seeing is Dark. You know what I mean? Even the way that it looked, the aesthetic and everything. But the whole thing was really confusing.
The reviews and stuff as the reviewer starts talking about their experience with Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, and Bloodborne and Sekiro, and it's like, oh, you've played all these. Sounds like you might have beaten all them. I have
gotten good.
Sure.
I've beaten one of those, and that was Bloodborne. The rest of them I tried for a while and gave up. So maybe your opinion is going to be different than mine, possibly. Right. So this is one of those games that is, and we talked about this last year with Game of the Year stuff too. There's certain games that are just going to be very niche. I think this one has successfully bridged into a much broader mass appeal. Yeah. But it's not really leaving its niche market. It's just kind of, it's appealed to more people. And then
they have an open door policy to their secret club now.
Much more open. Like, and I think that's great. And I think that's great for the fans of From and fans of the Soul series. Like you still get what you love. We're not going to change it just to kowtow to these guys who are whining that they want something easier or faster, whatever. Yeah.
Because that's not the game. Like
you still get what you love, but we're gonna open it up, make it more accessible, and allow people to maybe improve in a different way now. And I think that's great. I think that's really, really great. I think this game deserves accolades for being really, truly excellent at what it's trying to do. In my opinion, sure. I think it's succeeding at what it's trying to do. Anyone who goes into it and says and is mad that it's not easy enough, that's your own fault for not knowing what this is. Like,
I mean, At the end of the day, it's like these people are making a video game. So like when they start thinking up the ideas of the video game, they're creating this game. It's their vision. It's their game. So if it doesn't click for you, that does suck. And I mean, if people say, hey, like maybe you could add this, that, and the other, and if they're like, okay, yeah, sure, then that's fine, cool. You know. Then they can manipulate the game and add an easy mode or add a this whatever and that whatever. But if they're like, we're not going to do that, I feel like you kind of have to just respectfully be like, okay, it's your game.
Yeah,
you don't go up to an author of a book and go, can you write this different?
Right. Can you not kill that character? Can you write this
book differently? You know, like it's the most asinine argument ever for people to come out of the woodworks and be like, hey, developers, cater to what my accessibility options are. And
you're not going to like this
comparison. Like the game's not for you. You get to walk off. You know, like it's
not going to like this comparison, Kyle. But and please remember that I like the movie too. But that's what happened with Rise of Skywalker. I like the movie, but the internet bitched incessantly, and still to this day bitch incessantly about Last Jedi. That they were like,
sure,
okay, we have to do something with the script to kind of give people fist pumping moments, you know, and kind of make it. And I did talk to many people that hated Last Jedi personally, and they turned around and loved Rise of Skywalker because of the changes and stuff that they made. It felt like they listened to people and changed, but they were kind of just completing a trip. Like they were just kind of making a Star Wars thing.
But
Like
that's
they
the thing.
Right,
It shouldn't
right.
just be then like, oh, well, we're just gonna give you the things that you want because you are like, oh, I don't like change, and
Yeah.
it's like
if
you
they
should
got
be
Ryan
writing.
Johnson back to do a third movie, I would be like, oh, this is amazing. This is gonna be the best thing ever. I can't wait for everybody to hate
would have probably
themselves.
gotten the coolest freaking ending ever.
Well,
but
tell the
Yeah.
story that you should be
We'll never know.
telling. You know,
we'll never know.
yeah, tell the
We'll
story
never-
you should
yeah.
be telling. So
Yeah.
Well, and exactly. Again, you don't walk up to artists and go, no, do it this way.
Yeah.
You don't.
So-
That's just, you just don't
do it
that.
yourself then, right?
What-
Do it
what I
yourself.
struggle with-
100%. Yeah.
What I struggle with
Dark Throne-
Elden Ring, and I know people might complain like, well, it's your fault for buying into the marketing. Marketing is always blah blah blah. I get it. I get
Sure.
people saying that.
Yeah.
That being said, we have been, I think, pretty directly misled as a gaming community that this is gonna be different. I'm telling you, if you're listening to this, this is a Dark Souls game, and if you don't like those games, the chances that you will love this one, it's not impossible. You might, but it's just not likely. Like if you
Yeah.
already don't like Dark Souls at all, you
Yeah.
don't like the combat in that game, you don't like the aesthetic or whatever, you don't
Right.
like the bosses, you're not gonna
That's
like
all
this
here,
game.
baby.
I'll
It's
be
not-
honest. This might just be another game that I diddle. Just yet another game that I diddle, and then it's somebody else's masterpiece. You know, like
They-
so.
Yeah.
It might add the right pieces that were missing
Yeah.
for you with Dark Souls, and that's might be the case for me.
Sure,
I'm
I'll play
still
it
on the
more than I've
fence.
played any other From game.
I'm still on
Because
the
of that.
fence. I'm enjoying elements of it. I'm enjoying the exploration. The combat I still think is, for the most part, quite fun. Not all of it. I think it gets a little overblown with how perfect it is, but it's still quite fun. That being said, I'm on the fence. Like it might end up being a thing where it's like, hey, they added some elements that I like. Some of this is just Tim stuff, but it's still Dark Souls at its core. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be enough to see me through, or if
we
I don't
should
know,
kind of.
I think
if
it's super overblown how perfect people think it is, but yeah.
Yeah.
Like, the combat of From
yeah.
games, yes, I agree with you. fully.
I should say we should represent. Derek thinks this is like so far one of his favorite games ever made, if not his
yes,
favorite game.
if you
ever
like
made.
Dark Souls, this might be your favorite game of all time.
Yeah.
Legitimately.
Yeah, and
Derek, I
it's
think,
not
likes the Souls games more than the rest of us. So.
Well,
He does,
Yeah,
for
and I
sure.
like them a lot. You know, I play every single one of them, and again, like I'm just being real about kind of what I'm experiencing stuff like that. But like he is really enjoying it, and there's nothing non-genuine
Yeah.
about it. You know what I
Nope.
mean?
He's
Like,
obsessed with it.
when he
said-
was
said
like,
himself.
he's giving everybody tips and stuff like that. Hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that.
Yeah.
He's talking really, quick and fast and accurate about it. And at no point am I rolling my eyes because
Right,
like
no.
what he's saying are all very like these are
Yeah.
all like truthful things that are transpiring with the quality of this game. Yeah, you'll never hear me, like be like, you have Elden Ring that high?
Dude, it's
Yeah.
the
No,
same
like,
thing
it's
for
just
me with The
that's
Witcher
not-
3. Like when people would bring me like complaints, I don't enjoy it because of this. I'm like, yeah, that's part of the game. That's true. That's in there. That's a bummer. I freaking love this game. I don't care. Like that's how I was with Witcher 3. Everything about that game was nearly
I
perfect.
think
for
Kyle's
me.
the same way.
And
actually
I
think it's
understand the
stupid.
gripes with some of that game.
Yeah.
Like some
No,
of
I
it,
think it's great. Yeah.
but I don't really care about the stuff that they didn't like. And it's the same thing with Souls
Yep.
games. Some people will complain about stuff, and Derek's going, none of that stuff matters. Everything about Souls is this, and this is why it's
Mhm.
excellent and perfect at what it's trying to do. That's a legitimate take, and so
Yeah.
I understand
We
why.
all do this for games. That's
Yeah,
that's
I understand why
fine.
someone, whether it's Derek or many others, have said this might be my favorite, not just Souls game, but video game. I think that's awesome, and I think it's right in that right sweet spot for certain people and a lot of people. That's great.
And even
Every-
Derek admitted, like, okay, journalism does have a bias for From games. Like, they skew
bias.
positively.
There are
And it
some
is what it
studios
is, you
get a
know?
bias, and I don't know how to explain that, and I'm not here to rectify it or make sense of it or whatever. Some studios have a bias when it comes to reviews, and I don't know why.
Truth.
Sorry,
That's
it's just
true.
the way that it is. So
Yeah.